Hey guys, thank you for joining me for 21 Next. I'm TJ Anthony with CBS 21 News. So today we'll be talking about a Chambersburg man. He's from Mexico, was born in Mexico, moved to Chambersburg, has been in Chambersburg for decades, but he ended up getting detained by ICE a couple weeks ago, back on around Black Friday, around Thanksgiving, and he's now actually back in Mexico. So CBS 21's Alex still got a chance to speak with his daughter, and she told you she was actually pretty surprised by this.
Yeah, TJ, she told me. So her dad, Carlos Bonilla, he has lived in the US since the 90s and in Chambersburg for the past 20 plus years. These are some pictures you're looking at now of him with his daughter, Tatiana, who I spoke with today. And she tells me her dad had a working Pennsylvania Real ID and a work social security number, a work visa. And he went to York for his standard immigration check, his follow up, and he ended up being detained there.
Yeah, so like you said, he had a visa, wasn't here on a green card, but we know this is really just latest in the Trump immigration crackdown, where crackdowns have been sweeping all across the nation, including all across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania as well. We know the Trump administration said that they would be going after violent criminals, but his daughter told you he has a traffic ticket. She doesn't know about anything else, correct?
Yeah, his daughter told me, to her knowledge, she didn't think he had anything, whether that was a traffic ticket, any other criminal filings, things like that. And we did a docket search on our end here, and the only thing that we found was a traffic violation from 2022 that Carlos paid the fine for, and that has been closed. So that was closed in 2022. And since then, there haven't been any other run-ins with the law that we've been able to see on our end when looking up Carlos in any sort of database. But one thing that is worth sharing is that Carlos actually is a custodian at Falling Spring Elementary in Chambersburg, and he has been for quite a while. He's also worked at the YMCA there. So he works with kids on a daily basis. And both of those places did run credit and background checks on him when he applied for those jobs. And so right now, I do know that Falling Spring Elementary is actually working with Tatiana to try and help in terms of legal fees and raise awareness about Carlos's situation. And one thing I found particularly interesting is it's an elementary school, and all of the kids, to Tatiana's knowledge, love Carlos. They call him Mr. Carlos. They're all wondering where he is, but they're all in elementary school. So it's pretty difficult to talk to the kids about it. So something that the school is doing is they've released a sort of a sheet of information for how parents can talk to their kids about this situation as well. And they're promoting that GoFundMe to help pay for Carlos's legal fees as well, which we'll have on our website, CBS 21.
And his daughter was actually kind of concerned about his health too, right? Explain
Yeah.
that.
Yes. So Carlos has diabetes. He has diabetic medication that he takes. And when he was detained in York, he was not given that medication. His daughter was able to kind of try and figure out how she could bring it to him because she was told he would be in Phillipsburg for a hearing. That hearing never happened. He was never given a hearing. He never appeared before a judge, and he was deported without that medication. And she told me that he had explained to her his blood sugar at one point was in the 600 levels, which is close to a level that could kill a person with diabetes. And so he hasn't had his medication since he's been detained and deported, and now he's back in Mexico on day 4 of not having this medication.
There's so many layers to Carlos's story, and also, what his daughter wants to see as well. So kind of explain, what else does his daughter want out of this? Does she want him back in the United States permanently? What does she want to see?
Absolutely. I mean, she wants him back in the United States personally. He was born in Mexico, but Chambersburg is his home, and he's lived there for decades. He's built a life there. He's bonded with, the students at the school, with people at the YMCA. And she said now it's just her sister, and her son over here without their dad. They're all he has, and he's all they have, and they really miss him. They want him back here. They're trying to get him back here, and they're trying to work with legal experts right now to figure out how to do that. But another thing that Tatiana wants everyone to be aware of as well is just that this is a situation that is happening. She said it's been hard to explain to people that this is what happened to her father and that he's not a violent criminal. And so she wants people to be aware that this is happening regardless of criminal status to some.
Yeah. Now, what was pretty interesting to you when learning about Carlos's story? What really kind of poked out to you?
I mean, the thing that I immediately was struck by was how well loved he is by these students and has worked with them for many, many, many years. And so him being able to be in a capacity where he can work with kids, they had to do extensive background checks at the YMCA and at the school in order for him to be able to do that. And for him to have a working social security number for work and a PA real ID, which Tatiana told me she went with her dad to go get that real ID, had the gold star and everything. So with all of that documentation, it'll be interesting to see what information we're able to get from ICE about why he was detained and deported. I did reach out to ICE to try and get some information about this, and I was given a response asking for Carlos's birthday. I did provide that, and then I have not heard back from them. But we do know that there have been other instances in PA where people have been detained and eventually deported. I've covered multiple stories like this. A woman in Lancaster, Esther Solomon, she was detained and eventually deported back to the Philippines. And an Adams County man just last month was also detained. Both situations were smaller run-ins with the law, kind of in a similar instance to what we see in Carlos's situation. In the Lancaster woman situation, she was stopped at a traffic violation, and she didn't have a license and was driving kids around. So that could potentially be a reason that ICE then came in. And similarly in Adams County, we know that the man there was involved in a domestic dispute that was then, dismissed of by his family. But again, ICE came in that situation. So looking at if the traffic violation that Carlos had from 2022, even though it was cleared, if that is something that then ICE would come in and use that as a catalyst, is something that we're kind of working to learn more about. But that'll be interesting to see what comes out about that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And this is the first case that I'm learning about where we've heard a school actually setting up a petition to help Carlos and his family, and also providing resources even for parents to talk to their kids about Carlos and his situation. I mean, why do you think he, meant so much to the community? It's because he worked there for so many years. If the kids meant so much to him, it seems like.
Yeah, I mean, that's not the only thing he does with the community. He is someone who Tatiana tells me is very hands-on and very involved. So being a custodian at Falling Spring, he, the kids knew him as Mr. Carlos, and he's always walking the halls. He's always kind of helping some of them with their Spanish, Tatiana told me. And now she's getting calls from mothers of their kids, explaining to their parents, where is Mr. Carlos? We miss him. We want him back. And it's really difficult for these parents to explain to their children where Mr. Carlos went. So the school has set up a petition, which now has over 600 signatures, for people to try and get Carlos back home, for people to reach out to their, state representatives, to Governor Josh Shapiro, and try and see what can be done from a state leader perspective there. And so the school is heavily involved with trying to get Carlos back in the States.
Yeah, and of course, we still need to hear more information from ICE just about, more regarding Carlos's case. So, of course, we will keep people updated with any new developments that comes out of this as we continue to follow Trump's immigration crackdown. Well, thank you for joining us for 21 Next.